Welcome to Escape Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week, leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory. At Christmas!
At Christmas!
Even though it's definitely not Christmas anymore.
No, it is not, but that won't stop us from recording when it's Christmas.
It is.
It's literally in 10 days. We're recording this 10 days before Christmas, so it's kind of perfect. And Amy's all jingly, gives us a demonstration. I have a hat that doesn't fit over my headphones, but it's with me.
I can see it. It's there. Its presence is being felt. I love the elf ears in particular.
They don't match my skin tone, but you know what? It's okay. So yeah, this week we are on season 3, episode 8, A Very Supernatural Christmas.
Oh my god. This episode! I was so looking forward to this one. Oh, for ages. Do you know what? I have not been. Okay, so as we said, we're recording this before Christmas, and I have been so bah humbug about Christmas. And then I watched this, and I was like, this is what Christmas is all about.
You think so?
Yeah, I do actually. Look, I'm going to cry during this episode. I'm already actually a little bit like tearing up about this because I love this episode so much.
we learned I could see that. It was a fun episode. I ended up watching this episode 3 times in like 3 weeks, I think, or maybe a little bit less than that. I know my initial reaction, I think, was along the same lines as what you're having right now, but like watching it so closely together so many times, unfortunately lost its like kick.
It's emotional. I love it. I am very much into this completely.
So this episode was directed by J. Miller Tobin and was written by Jeremy Carver, which this is the second one of his.
Yeah, I complained before that I don't really like the Carver era of Supernatural, but like I'm giving him a pass on this one because this episode's great.
Well, I think we've spoken about this like outside of the show, but being an episode writer and being a showrunner, you can be good at one but horrible at another. The way that they start this episode is so bizarre. It feels very 70s, maybe even earlier than that. With the special, like, the word special, like, rotating onto screen.
Oh, it's super 90s for me. It's like a DVD. Like, you know when you used to get stuff on VHS tape? Mm-hmm. It's that. It's blockbusters, like, trailers.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. As it spins, it shows that it's saying special presentation. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to imagine myself. Well, let's see. It was December 13th. Oh, 2 days when we were recording this, 2007. You've seen all these other episodes, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. You've turned on the TV to start watching Supernatural, and then like this comes up. What is your thought?
It starts like a Christmas movie. So you would think, oh, they've just put something on for the holidays. Like I guess Supernatural's not on. I wonder how many people turned off and were like, nah, I want to watch Supernatural tonight, and this isn't it.
So we are in Seattle, Washington, and it's 1 year ago. We see this like fancy decorated Christmas house, or like someone's home, and it's fancily decorated for Christmas. And we hear a doorbell ring, and this little boy runs to the door. Do not do this. Like, if you're a child, don't go and answer the door.
We've been through this. Don't do that. Not even at Christmas.
Not even at Christmas. Even if you're expecting somebody. No. And it turns out it's this little boy's grandpa or granddad. Is the typical like Christmas dialogue between family members. Have you been a good boy? Yes. Then Santa's going to come give you presents, essentially. Mm-hmm. And then it cuts to the evening, and the granddad's dressed up as Santa, and he's putting on like his Santa beard, and he starts to like purposely make noise so that it can draw the attention of the little boy. He comes down and he's like, oh, it's Santa. It's very Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, as soon as I watched it, and like the little boy when Jack Skellington comes down the thing.
Yeah.
Like, Santa!
It is actually. Yeah, completely. I just say, if anyone had ever done this to me as a child, like pretend to be Santa, I would have freaked out.
So here's something sad.
Oh no!
I don't know if you know this about me, but my parents didn't want to lie to us about Santa.
Right.
So we were told from the beginning that Santa wasn't real.
Oh.
So I never believed in Santa.
Never once did you believe in Santa?
No, I faked it all through school when I was little. How sad is that?
That's quite sad. I can't believe you were like good enough that you didn't tell other kids like, oh, Santa doesn't exist. If you have children listening to this, that's not true. I'm a dirty liar.
I mean, yeah, Santa does exist, and my parents were just wrong.
See,
so like this, if this happened in my house, I'd be like, what the hell?
Okay, so I believed in Santa for like way too long. Because I think I was like 10 when I stopped believing in Santa, which is quite old, I feel. I did start asking questions, and my mum like fully convinced me by like making fake stuff. Like, I know, right?
I mean, that's the way to do it though, isn't it?
Yeah. It was the same like when I stopped believing in the Tooth Fairy, she wrote me like a tiny letter, and like put it under my pillow. Like, I heard you were saying that I didn't exist. This is like my Santa experience was, I knew that all the Santas that you go to see were fake. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that so near where I grew up, there's a chocolate factory. There's the Cadbury chocolate factory. Mm-hmm. And they used to do Santa there every year. And I thought he was the real Santa because out of all the Santas, because he wore like half moon glasses.
That was it. That was all that convinced
me. That was all that convinced me. So I thought he was the real Santa Claus for a long time. But yeah, I tell you, when you do get older though, because my younger sister, we have a big age gap, like 20 years, and pretending to be Santa on Christmas Eve is pretty fun. You get to eat all the stuff. And that's
what was really fun with my nephews. Like, my older nephew now is at the point where he can understand what Santa is. Mm-hmm. For sure, I'll be doing that.
Drinking the, like, eggnog or milk or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, as the grandpa's putting presents under the tree, there's a loud like thumping noise that's happening on the roof.
Yeah.
Stevie's like, "Oh, reindeer! Wow!" But the grandpa looks confused. Like that's not supposed to be happening because he does not have reindeer on the roof because he's just the grandpa. And it sort of gets louder, and then the sort of activity happening at the chimney. Grandpa goes to look at what was going on. He gets pulled up the chimney, and like a bloody boot just like falls out the bottom of the chimney.
I thought it was like his severed foot.
It probably is that too. I was just going a bit nicer with it.
I mean, so again, let's go take this from the beginning. If you didn't know this was an episode of Supernatural, it's been like a special presentation. Looks like it's maybe like a nice Christmas advert or a Hallmark movie, and then the grandpa gets murdered.
Yeah, that would be a bit of a shock.
This is one of the times that they do a special title card as well. So you see like a Christmas title card. It says a very supernatural Christmas. I really like that the very is like a neon sign, like a motel sign. Yeah. It's just so, something about that is just so good. Mm-hmm. The graphics department had fun that day. That's all I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. They were just like, you know what? We're going to make it snow because we never see it snow in the show. We're going to go all out.
Yeah, I love it so much. The next scene, we cut to, now I'm going to try and say this name, and just like whoever lives here, just laugh at me, it's fine. Salanti? I think so. I think the Y and the P is silent.
I think so too.
In Salanti, Michigan, and it's present day this time, we see like a young girl and her mother being interviewed by Dean. He's dressed in his fancy suit. So he's pretending to be an FBI agent because this woman's husband has also gone missing. She heard the thump on the roof and then he screamed and disappeared. Dean's asking her like the obvious questions about like, what did you hear? What's going on? Etc. We kind of gather that this is a mystery. For us, it's obvious what's happened because we've just seen it. But Sam comes out of the house and he's been looking around and he doesn't really say much. This woman thinks that her husband's maybe been kidnapped, but by Sam's face, you can be like, no, he's dead. I think he finds, as Sam and Dean kind of walk away from here, Sam pulls out a tooth that he found, which is just horrifying.
Yeah, and like, why? Why did he have to take the tooth? Right? Like, what's he going to do with that after the fact? Like, does he just...
I mean, if the wife finds it, she's going to know that her husband's lost a tooth. I don't know. Was it confirmed that he's dead, or was it just that he lost a tooth in the kidnapping? Sam says that he found the tooth in the chimney.
Chimney? No way a man fits up the chimney. It's too narrow. No way he fits up in one piece.
I hate it so much.
Yeah, no, that's not an imagery that I want. And like when we see, we've just seen that foot come down.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh. I personally never looked up a chimney, and I hope I never have to.
You never... I don't know why that's so funny. He never looks up a chimney.
Yeah, have you?
No. But I remember going on like an activity camp thing, and we like climbed up a chimney kind of thing where you like put your back against the wall and your feet, and then you have to like climb up it. I couldn't do it though. I'm too terrible at sports.
I would be there with you, to be fair. Yeah, because there were technically 2 chimneys in my house growing up.
Yeah.
But one was always blocked off. And then the other one, my parents had put like one of those electric gas ones. If you took that out and put firewood in there, then you could see up the chimney.
The only real chimney I have experienced, if we're going here, is my grandparents had a coal fire in their parlour. It sounds fancy, but it wasn't a very big house. It's just, at the time it was built, in England, it's very popular to have a living room and a parlour. The fancy living room, as you say. The living room that you're only allowed to go in for guests, So we used to have Christmas in there with the coal fire, and it's the only time we ever went in that room.
I don't think I've ever been. Nobody in my family has a room like that. Everybody uses the rooms that they like.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
But I do know of somebody who had a formal dining room that you were not allowed to go in. Like, and if you were going to go in there, you had to take like your shoes off. And, like, it was intense. Moving on.
Fancy living rooms.
So we're in a motel, and it's like flashing pictures of Krampus and other sort of demon looking Santa Clauses, essentially. And Dean in this episode is always walking into the motel.
That's so true.
He's not ever in there. He's going into the room because he's out and about doing something, getting something, who knows,
doing Dean stuff.
He doesn't want to do the boring research. He's leaving that up to Sam, and he asks Sam, so was I right, is it a serial killing chimney sweep? The wonderful response of, yeah, it was actually Dick Van Dyke, which he murdered that accent, so yeah.
Hey, look, I actually appreciate Dick Van Dyke's Cockney accent. It was bad, but it was iconic. You can't say it wasn't.
That's very true. And if you didn't know it was bad,
you wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
No.
Who? Mary Poppins. Who's that? Oh, come on. Never mind.
I am very doubtful that he does not know who Mary Poppins is.
Oh, yeah, I'm cool. Like, okay, I believe in this moment from the acting that Dean doesn't know who Mary Poppins is, but I do not believe in canon that Dean doesn't know who Mary Poppins is. No way he doesn't know who Mary Poppins is. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, like we spoke about this with Danny in the episode that we did with them. Some Disney movies made it onto regular TV, and Mary Poppins is one of them.
Yeah, and Mary Poppins is a Christmas film. And I know it's not Christmas themed, but I mean, I don't know about America, but in the UK, Mary Poppins is always on at Christmas.
I think of the TV lineup at Christmas time for England, and it's Mary Poppins, 101 Dalmatians, the live action.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yes. Just really random stuff. And then like pantomime type dealios. Like whichever pantomime's hot that season is the movie equivalent is going to be on TV. Like, so if it's Aladdin, then Aladdin's going to be on TV. That's
so true. Oh, and the Harry Potter movies. That's a recent addition, but always on at Christmas.
That's definitely the same over in America. They literally do marathons. Like they start the first one. play all of them, and then they start it again. All day.
A recent addition to UK Christmas telly, and I'm adding this for everyone because it's my favourite thing at the moment, is there's a acting troupe who make a series called The Play That Goes Wrong. All I'm saying is look up on YouTube, watch the Peter Pan one that they did at Christmas, because it is all up on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's probably called Peter Pan Goes Wrong. I'm not telling you anything else, just watch it, it's amazing.
I'm going to have to do that. I'm actually going to write this down to make sure I actually do it.
They kind of talk through what this could be because neither of them are very sure. I don't think they've ever come across something that drags people up the chimney before. But Sam has an idea because he thinks that it's evil Santa.
I mean, he's been called the Antichrist, so of course there's going to be an anti-clause.
Anti-clause. I love it, and he says it multiple times this episode. And it's like, Sam, I don't think it's going to catch on. Like, stop trying to make anti-clause happen.
Evil Santa.
He's saying that, like, evil Santa is like Santa's brother. And I thought for a moment they were going to make, like, a Sam Dean parallel here where, like, Sam was the anti-Santa because he's the evil one somehow. But they didn't quite, like, fully commit to it. But I definitely felt the vibe there that they were like, oh, yeah, they're brothers. And one of them is the anti-brother. And I'm like, well, that's Sam.
I mean, that's if we look at it from Chuck's perspective, he was definitely thinking that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, when he wrote that down, he was like, "Sam is the anti-Santa."
I mean, you're not wrong because we know that Sam's not really all for Christmas in this episode, and
That's
Dean is.
True, he is. He's the Grinch.
So essentially, what the law says is that Santa's brother, like you said, he'd gone rogue. Which rogue from what? Who knows? Making presents.
The North Pole.
And at the same time that Santa does his thing, he goes around, instead of bringing presents, he punishes the wicked.
From this whole conversation, they figure out that all the victims went to the same place. And it does this real hard cut to, like, creepy Santa's village. And it's, like, really run down and, like, it makes me think of Christmas.
It's definitely like snow hasn't come this year, so it doesn't like make it look enchanting anymore. It just looks muddy and cold and damp.
Absolutely, yeah. Like every Christmas village you've ever been to, I've never been to a Christmas village that has actually been magical. Sorry. Like they're always like this. There's some sad reindeer. There's some people dressed as elves.
Dean's like, because it's such a sad Santa village, which I guess they just never go to, so they don't know how sad they actually are. He's like, okay, well, maybe your theory is correct. It could be an anti-clause just because how pathetic this place is. Dean sort of suggests that they should do Christmas this year.
Hey, speaking of, we should have one this year.
Have one what?
A Christmas.
No, thanks.
No, we'll get a tree, a little Boston market, just like when we were little.
Dean, those weren't exactly Hallmark memories for me, you know?
What are you talking about? We had some great Christmases.
Whose childhood are you talking about?
Oh, come on, Sam.
No, just... no.
He says it so casual, like...
As you said earlier, Dean calls Sam the Grinch.
I mean, he is one. He's the Grinch in this episode. They do this transition, and it is it's the weirdest flashback transition I've ever seen in the TV show ever, because Sam, like, stares deep into a plastic reindeer's eyes. And it's like the reindeer staring back, and Sam's kind of looking at it like, did the reindeer instigate the flashback? Like, that's what it feels like. It's like it stared at him so much, he was like, I'm flashing back to Christmas.
Christmas past.
It's the reindeer of Christmas past.
That's exactly what it is. A year without... I think I've seen A Year Without Santa Claus, but I can't tell you what it was.
I haven't seen it. It's not a special that I am familiar with.
Because I've been in America at like Christmas time, and there's some really... If you go into certain places, you get some of the old Christmas movies that used to come out, and like, they are so weird. Oh God, they are so weird.
I've never seen the one with the elf that's always parodied on other shows. You know, the weird little elf, the like cartoon stop motion elf. I've never seen that one, that American one. Do you know what else I've never watched? I've never watched It's a Wonderful Life. Maybe this year will be the year that I watch it.
We see Sam, he's like young-ish, and it's definitely the Sam and Dean that
yeah,
as children.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how old they were supposed to be, because this is 1991. So I figured Sam must be 7 or 8, which means Dean's like 12, 13. Mm-hmm. I think I could probably figure it out if I tried harder, but math.
That sounds about right.
We see Sam and he's wrapping a present in some newspaper. I'm gonna cry. And Dean comes in and asks him what it is, and he says it's a present for Dad.
Yeah, right. Where'd you get the money? Steal it?
No. Uncle Bobby gave it to me to give to him. Said it was real special.
Which I didn't remember that it was from Bobby, but we'll go back through that in a bit.
He calls him Uncle Bobby as well.
He does, Uncle Bobby.
I wonder when, like, they had to drop that. Because, like, I can't imagine not being called Auntie by my nephews. Like, I don't want them to call me by my name when they're older. Like, no.
I don't know. I mean, I guess, like, Dean's nearly 30 now. I don't imagine that he would call him Uncle Bobby anymore, but they should have kept that because I would have, like, screamed every time they said it on the television.
I bet you, though, again, freaking John Winchester. Fudging John Winchester.
Oh, yes, we can swear in this episode. Let's do that. Okay, fine. Yeah, fudging John Winchester.
Probably told them to stop calling him uncle because he's not their uncle. You can tell that was the conversation that they had. And I bet you it's to Sam too, because Sam's the one who called him Uncle Bobby.
I bet it was as well. Fudging John Winchester. Dean kind of laughs at him and is like, you know, they're kind of joking around and stuff. And Sam eventually asks, like, where's Dad? It's because it's Christmas. Mm-hmm. And little young Dean, he says promise so many times in these flashbacks. And boy, oh boy, John Winchester making him break his promises is just sending me off the deep end today.
He knows. And I'll be here. Promise.
And then kind of lies to Sam about where he is. He says he's on business. He's clearly told Sam before that John is a salesman of some kind. Mm-hmm. Doesn't seem to have committed to what that was, what he was selling. But, I mean, ammo would make a good cover, I guess. Yeah, he's an ammo salesman. And Sam's not really having it anymore. Like, he's a smart kid, you know? He's like, clearly people are lying to me. And asks instead if John's a spy. It's a fair guess for, like, an 8-year-old.
Again, watching TV, how many James Bond movies have they seen? Probably quite a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, all that kind of, like, TV trope stuff, John fits into it. They go from place to place, etc.
James Bond is another English TV Christmas movie that comes up.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of James Bond at Christmas, to be fair. And Dean jokes that he's James Bond, that they move around so much because everyone gets sick of Sam's face. This scene kind of ends with Sam asking about their mother and said, like, is that why we don't talk about her? You know, because I'm not old enough to know the truth. And Dean gets really angry. It's very reminiscent of Dean in Pilot, where he slams Sam against that bridge. It's like, don't you talk about her. This is the same as that. So yeah, it's a really sore spot for Dean.
And honestly, like I said, I've watched this episode a few times now. The first time around, I was like, that seems a bit of a big reaction. But then I remembered he's supposed to be 12.
Yeah.
And he's had no sort of grief counselling, no nothing, nobody to really talk about his feelings about his mother passing away. Like, yeah, no, this is absolutely like a valid reaction to Sam's question.
And Dean knows that that Mary was murdered as well by a demon. Like, John's definitely told him at this point because he knows all the stuff that's going on. Dean never got the sheltered childhood that Sam is getting here.
Nope.
You know, Sam's 8, kind of asking about this stuff now. Dean gets angry and leaves, essentially, which is what he does.
Yeah. And again, being a 12-year-old though, like, what are his options, really?
The actors here who portray young Sam and Dean do a really good job, particularly the kid who plays, like, the young Dean. He has some of the facial expressions down, actually, like, really well. You can see his characterization. And I don't know, something about Dean getting angry and, like, storming out here is just like, oh, you've never moved on from that 12-year-old self, have you?
No, he has not. So we come back to present day. Sam looks a little dazed because, you know, he was hypnotized by that plastic reindeer.
He totally was.
I do think it's interesting. It seems to be that it's Sam who triggers the flashbacks in this one, whereas the last one that we had, it was definitely Dean that triggered the flashbacks.
I think what's interesting is how the flashbacks happen in this episode is also how Sam remembers it at this time, if that makes sense. So at this point, he's only remembered this part of what happened during Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. And I'll bring up why that's important later.
Dean makes a note of the fact that, you know, it costs money to get in, but there's no snow. And I don't know if you know the like geography of Michigan, like where it's at in America.
Not really.
It's on the border of Canada, so there should be snow. There should definitely be snow this close to Christmas. And then Dean sort of asking, you know, what are they looking for? So we don't know why they're there. So he's saying, hey, list out all the things we're looking for because the audience need to know. And Sam tells Dean that the law says that the anti-clause, again, just bringing it up, will walk with a limp and smell like sweets.
I've never heard this. Like, what is this?
And also, that's very, very generic. And like smelling like sweets is really not that difficult, especially at Christmas time.
I mean, I think Sam realizes how generic it is though, because Dean's asking him questions about this and he's like, I don't know. This is what I read. Like, we're here. It's vague. I'm sorry.
Dean asks why sweets. Sam makes it creepy. If you smell like sweets, kids are going to come to you. Don't think that's true.
Don't think that's true.
Then we cut to like this very budget Santa Claus.
Yep.
And he beckons a child over and is very creepy about it.
No, don't like it.
And as this is happening, Sam and Dean are watching, and then a woman who obviously works there, who's dressed as an elf, asks them, hey, can I escort your child to Santa? Dean just makes this really awkward for fun.
No, but actually, my brother here, it's been a lifelong dream of his.
Sorry, no kids over 12?
No, he's just kidding. We only came here to watch.
Dean looks at him like he can't believe he just said that, then like shakes his head at the woman like, don't kick us out. Like, don't kick us out, please. I mean, okay, first of all, this woman definitely should have kicked them off the property.
Yes.
Right? But instead she just goes like, ew, and walks off, which... Okay, whatever. But she definitely should have got them thrown out. They should have got thrown out for this.
Yeah, I mean, a nice little nod would have been her walking to like something that said security or something.
Yeah. I would like to see them forcibly removed from Santa's village. I feel like that could have properly added to this episode.
Absolutely. Like these burly men dressed as elves or something.
Yeah, dressed as elves. Or reindeers.
Or reindeer, yeah. That'd be great. And then as you know, they're sort of somewhat bickering, the Santa Claus gets up and starts walking with a limp past them. He also smells like candy. So they come to the conclusion that he is the Anti-Claus.
I don't think Sam's convinced, but they're going to go with it. Do you know what I mean? I don't think either of them are convinced, but they're like,
it's like,
best we got.
This is all we got, yeah.
Let's go kill this guy, because this is the best we got.
Exactly. They go to his trailer, and it's like the middle of the night. I mean, this is like moments that it would have been nice to see more of.
Absolutely.
Because we see Dean get tired. We never see them tired on a stakeout, ever. So Dean asks what time it is, and Sam says the same as the last time you asked, and he says caffeinate, but the like thermos is empty.
I love this. Okay, this is what I want. This is what I wanted more of in Supernatural, as you said, because this whole episode is full of little moments in between the case. Just a bit of them arriving at Santa's village, for example, is like a bit they wouldn't normally cut into an episode. I feel, where they're like, this place is real crappy. Like, I just feel like they would normally cut that in, and then seeing them in the car, like just chatting and realizing how boring and mundane their job is. And there's more at the end of this episode that we'll go into, but it is like that, and I wanted more Annabelle.
I mean, we saw Cass as a human in a laundromat. Yeah. We never saw the boys doing their laundry.
I would have this would have been a scene that I would love to have seen. I want to see them buy some clothes. No, because I just want it to be ridiculous. I want to see them go into like Goodwill, wherever they buy their clothes, because I mean, Sam's purple dog t-shirt can only have come from a thrift store. Like, honestly.
Yes.
I just wanted them to like separate at the shop, come back together at the till, and both of them just have like arms like laden with plaid, and they just look at each other like, oh yeah, this is our lives. The flannel. We're living that flannel life. Just a little, anyway, writing Supernatural.
Did see a very brief moment in season 1 where they went to get their first like suits. Like, how fun would have that been to them trying to find a suit and like having to call Bobby and be like, hey, do you know somewhere where we can get this, that and the other?
How do I know what suit size I am, Bobby? And it like teaches them about collar sizes and stuff. I always want small moments in a TV show. It's not too much to ask.
Because they are bored and they probably run out of topics to talk about, Dean asks about why Sam hates Christmas.
Why are you the boy that hates Christmas?
Dean.
I mean, I admit it, you know, we had a few bumpy holidays when we were kids.
Bumpy?
That was then. We'll do it right this year.
Look, Dean, if you want to have Christmas, knock yourself out. Just don't involve me.
It's interesting that Sam is so like against Christmas, but I mean, what have we seen so far of his memories of it? You know, crappy motel rooms, just like their normal life, and like John not being there. I imagine he has these memories of a few life events. I'm thinking like birthdays, Thanksgiving's big in America, you know, all the holidays where they're seeing other people do fun stuff and they're stuck watching television like every other day of their life.
Dean's just like, I guess he's surprised because Sam would have had at least 7 good Christmases, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I get the idea from these flashbacks that are showing that this has been the same always. Like, John not being there, Dean makes excuses for him, and that would have been Sam's whole childhood. Whereas maybe Dean has a memory of a good Christmas, you know, when he was really little. I mean, possibly. Yeah. It's difficult to tell though, right? Because he would have been 3. Like, that's quite young.
And also, I get the feeling as well for Dean, especially in the sort of the other flashbacks that come up, he enjoyed those Christmases that he did for Sam.
I think Sam's justified in this, like not wanting to do Christmas because it isn't good, full of good memories. Like, you know, Dean might have a few good ones, but I don't think Sam has any at all. And then I bet when he went to college, if he did Christmas with his friends, he probably didn't know like how to do it. And it made it I imagine it made it awkward, or he was left there alone while other people went and spent time with their family during the holidays. So yeah, I do feel for Sam actually in this. Dean kind of gives up talking about it, and they see the creepy Santa like draw the curtains of his trailer, and they hear like a woman's voice like shout like ah. So they jump out and they go in to save this woman that they're hearing. As they're about to burst through the door with their guns, Sam's like, oh, this is really funny because, like, you know, Mr. Gung-Ho Christmas is about to might have to blow away Santa. Like, Sam's, now's not the time. This is not the time, sir.
Like, one-liners is not for this moment.
I think he feels bad that he's been like shooting Dean down with his Christmas ideas at every turn. So it's like, let's make a joke. So yeah.
And as they like burst into the house, Santa's like just on the couch by himself, drinking some whiskey, and on the TV is some
Christmas cheer.
Some Christmas cheer. Some of the lines that you can hear over the TV are just like, jingle my bells. Like, what? Or like,
I bought a Christmas bag, which reminds me of this, that says, jingle till you tingle. That I'm giving to someone as a Christmas present.
That's amazing. Rightfully, the Santa Claus is very confused as what's going on, but he's probably way drunk, doesn't really understand. So Dean starts to sing Silent Night.
Silent night, holy night, all is right, right round and round the table.
Which I think is really funny that he sings it so badly, because we already know that he can sing pretty well, but this is like really like out of tune.
It's so good. And the lyrics are so wrong. Like they don't know what they are. They've clearly never sung this before. I love that Sam looks to Dean and then's like, okay, this is what we're doing then, and starts singing too.
Yeah. But Santa doesn't know the words either, because he starts singing them wrong too.
I love it so much. I love it so much. Oh, why did I never do this again? I love it so much. Do you know what I'd love to have seen is like, so they do another holiday episode in season 15, right? I wanted a rendition of this to show the progression that, like, they know the words now.
And, like, Mrs. Butters, right? That's her name. Teaching them the words, essentially. So every time they get it wrong, she stops them and be like, no.
Like, conducting them. Like, I love it. Yeah, I want it. I want it so much.
But as they sort of finish up their lovely rendition, we cut to, like, the classic boy singing Silent Night with the proper lyrics, and we're shown again this very nice home that's beautifully decorated, like magazine style decorated. I bet the people on set had the best time doing this.
Oh yeah, they so raided every like possible hallmark, like
yes,
you know,
set out there.
Yeah, just on the lot. It was like, we need Christmas stuff. Let's go.
I wonder if they brought in like the people who do decorate for Hallmark movies, like those people who do it. Because there must be, I mean, there's obviously professional decorators, so there must be professional, like, Christmas decorators.
Oh, there totally is. That is a profession. That is definitely a profession that you can be. You can be a professional tree dresser. That is very true. If it was me, if I had to design this set, I definitely would have snuck in some of my own Christmas ornaments.
Yeah.
Because I have some of the best Christmas ornaments. They are good.
Because of the sounds, a little boy hears them and he's doing his whole like, oh, it's Santa. But he says, Santa, you're early. The person that we just see like a suit of red. I don't know why it's red, and I don't want to think about why it's red. It's gross. He walks by, kind of ignores the child, and goes up the stairs into a bedroom. We hear a woman scream, then it gets cut short, and then we hear a man scream, and like he's stuffed into the sack, taken down the steps, taken up the chimney. So this is one thing that kind of stuck out to me for this episode. One thing they don't explain about the law is why it's just men.
That's totally true, actually. Why is it just men that they're taking?
And it doesn't make total sense for what this story is about.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. I wonder why that is.
Is it because men play Santa Claus?
Yeah,
and they're getting revenge?
That's what I thought. Maybe that's why, but it's not. But it's not revenge for Santa. That's not why they're doing it. There's a reference made later about like, oh, you know, boys and girls would fall over themselves to be in this position. So they do mention like women as well. So... So, okay, we find out who these people are eventually. And we find out that the woman plays bridge. And I wonder if it's simply because she wants to carry on playing bridge with the women in the neighbourhood.
It could be that. And it could also be, for the most part, men are bigger.
Oh, more meat. More packing more for the snacking. There's another way to say that. I can't think of it. It is weird. Yeah, they definitely should have explained that.
Now daytime, and Dean is interviewing the woman, the wife, and she's got like a bit of a black eye. Essentially, she was asleep, and then she heard her husband being dragged out of bed.
Yeah.
And then Sam walks in. He's not being particularly caring in this. And I wonder if it's because it's Christmas and he's just like over it. He asks about the wreath over the fireplace, and Dean looks confused by this. She says, oh, excuse me? Like, what? Why would you want to know that? Yeah. And Sam just says, just curious. You're interviewing somebody and you've just found a connection.
Just tell them. Just tell them. A connection. Like, well, you know, other people have gone missing in this neighborhood, and I also noticed a wreath like this in their house. I'm just wondering where you got it. Like, that's a conversation you could totally have, and like that, it would be weird. Yes, it would be weird, but it's not as weird as being like in the middle of a murder investigation. Hey, where'd you get your Christmas decorations?
So as they're leaving the house, even Dean's like, wreaths, huh? Like, what?
Why?
Wreaths, huh? Sure didn't want to ask her about her shoes. I saw some nice handbags in the foyer.
We've seen that wreath before, Dean.
Where?
The Walshes. Yesterday.
I know. I was just testing you.
I like that Dean pretends that he didn't spot, like, he spotted this too, because he was like, yes. I was just testing you, like, that you'd seen all these before in other places. Like, I've definitely noticed, Sam. I'm the older brother. Of course I noticed.
I was just testing you. It's not the first, and it's definitely not the last time he makes this kind of joke either.
No. Oh, he can't be wrong. He's the older sibling. You're not allowed to be wrong. You must always be right.
So we're back in the motel, and Sam's on the phone.
Yeah, all right. Keep looking, would you? Thanks, Bobby. Well, we're not dealing with the anti-clause.
What'd Bobby say?
That we're morons.
Bobby, like, this is what's happening. And, like, we think we're dealing with some kind of anti-clause. And Bobby's like, you fudging morons. There's no such thing as an anti-clause. Bobby writes in his diary for that day.
Yeah.
These boys are idiots.
I do love the fact that, like, now they don't refer to John's journal anymore. They always go to Bobby.
They do. The patriarchal head of the family has changed. Mm-hmm. It's Bobby now. It's not John. I love it too.
Honestly, makes more sense. Like, sometimes the book was too well done that, like, it just was like, really? He was that specific and then he knew exactly what you might face? Like, I don't think so.
If John had this specific scenario in his journal, we would have been asking questions about it, right?
Exactly.
It's like, you came up against anti-clause before, like anti-Santa? Seriously? Oh, okay. I love all this because, all right, one thing I haven't said about this episode so far, this is extremely Neil Gaiman. Like, this episode is, you can see Kripke was involved in the writing of this. It was definitely drawn from Neil Gaiman inspiration because this is very much the theme. I'm like jingling. It's the theme, guys. Because they talk here about the wreath. So Sam noticed that I had meadowsweet in it. I'm not actually sure what meadowsweet looks like, but apparently it smells really good. And it turns out that they're pretty pagan. Sam points out all the things that I enjoy pointing out to people about Christmas. This is me having a conversation with anybody about Christmas, and it's like, it's actually pretty pagan, guys. Yes. Every Christmas tradition that you have is somewhere rooted in paganism. The tree, the Yule log, the wreaths, the food, everything is, honestly.
I have a question. Mm-hmm. So in this, Dean seems pretty surprised that everything Christmas is pagan related.
Yes.
When did you find out that everything was pagan related? I want to say I was probably like late teenager, maybe like 18 or like 19.
I think I was younger, and I think I probably learned it from reading stuff around Neil Gaiman's works because that got me interested in like other pantheons of gods and things from other cultures and stuff. I've always been interested in that kind of thing. I think it's because of where we grew up, right? Because it very much coincides with the Roman holiday of Saturnalia as well, like a big feast midwinter. I mean, of course, I'm going off on a Christmas rant here. I'm a Sam. I'm doing a Sam going on a Christmas rant. Because it makes sense. Like, in the deepest, darkest depths of winter, why not get together with your family and eat a big meal? It stops you from getting, like, all sad and depressed. Like, honestly, it makes sense that it's there. And I love that, like, Dean's like, no, Christmas is Jesus' birthday. Clearly, everything Dean knows about Christmas is from television and Hallmark movies and Christmas specials. That's how he sees Christmas. This is why I think Dean has fond memories of Christmas, because you do the things in it like in a Hallmark movie. And he always thinks of his life as a movie in some ways. So he's like, well, the Christmases we have were really special because I remember them as the lights and the tree and the presents. And that's kind of all you need for a Hallmark movie. Sam mentions all the things like Santa's pretty pagan. His red suit is as well. I feel like Sam knew this before he did research into it, right? Christmas isn't special to Sam. So he would be at college and be like, people going to like midnight mass and stuff, and he'd be like, well, Christmas trees are pagan. He's that guy.
You tell me next, Easter Bunny's Jewish?
So they figure that they're more likely dealing with a pagan god. Mm-hmm. They don't seem to take this they're not taken back by this. And I think this is really strange because this is the first time they've really dealt with anything so ancient.
But they did kill the trickster god. They have dealt with pagan gods before and managed to kill him.
That's true.
They think.
Yeah, that's very true. And I was also thinking of Scarecrow, but again, that was the settlers bringing their religion with them, and they also didn't kill that god either. They just stopped the rituals from happening.
Yeah. So they haven't successfully killed a pagan god, but they don't know they haven't successfully killed one. At the moment, they think, yeah, we know what we're dealing with. It's fine. One of the things that Sam says here is like, what does, because the wreaths are basically calling cards for human sacrifices. They're signals to the god to come eat these people. And the reward is not lap dances, as Dean would hope, but mild weather, which I think is how they explain there's no snow in this episode.
Yes.
They literally wrote that in, I'm sure of it, because they couldn't get snow.
More than likely. Like how... This is where we're going to have to put the Christmas episode. We don't have time to put it anywhere else. So let's just film it now and just put this one line in to sort of say, like, okay, there's no snow because of this.
Yeah. The gods are causing it. There's no snow. It's fine.
So they're trying to find out how to kill them, and Bobby's looking into it. Now they're just going to have to go find who was selling the wreaths. They
go to this shop. And, like, I think clearly they've been to other shops before this, right? This is not the first shop they've been in. I don't think.
The thing is, yeah, I think so too, because I don't think they would have gone back to the victims' families to ask where they got the wreaths from. Again, because Sam made it so weird. I think had he not made it so weird and just been like, yeah, we, because we've seen it in other places, that's why we want to know.
This is it. And I think they're having to trawl through the shops because Sam made it weird is why Dean makes him say the things he does in this scene. I have a question.
Yes.
Are they pretending to be a gay couple?
I think so. I think they are.
I think they are too.
And I don't know why.
I don't know. If you're not gay, you can't buy Christmas wreaths? Is this what Supernatural's trying to tell me?
We were playing Jenga over at the Walsh's the other night, and, well, he hasn't shut up since about this Christmas wreath. I don't know, you tell him.
Sure. It was yummy.
Not been like, my brother came into town, we went to my friend's house, he saw the wreath and was wanting to know where it is.
I'm guessing they're thinking that the only way it's plausible that two men in a shop would be asking about a Christmas wreath is if they were gay, which is very, like, stereotypical. They could have played this differently. If they were that worried about that walking in together, just go in separately and be like... Yeah. Well, if you truly have the real need to be straight in this situation, you just say, oh, we were playing Jenga and my girlfriend saw this wreath. I'm going to try and buy it for her as a surprise. There was no reason for them to do this. It was so weird.
It must be just because it's being a bit and they just want to keep bringing it up because this is a time when they've leaned into the fact that people have thought that they're gay, and there's been other times where they've like been like, whoa, no. Mm-hmm. So I guess this one, they were just like, you know what, it's Christmas, let's just go with it.
No, I love that maniac thinking, because there's no point at where I would be with my brother. It's like, everyone's been mistaken this for a couple. Well, it's Christmas, let's just go with it. That's not normal. That's not a normal thing to do. It's not.
Not at all.
I guess if you're undercover, that's the only time I would ever maybe consider, this is such a weird conversation to have, I would ever consider pretending to be like a couple with someone I was related to would be if I was undercover and that was the only reason you could get into somewhere. It's so weird.
It's so weird.
And also, it's just stereotypical as well. And I have to remind myself, okay, it's fine, it's 2007. There is no representation on television at the moment at all. True. Anyway, the shopkeepers... I don't know, but he says there aren't any more. Essentially, like, it doesn't matter how like cute you guys are together. Like, there are no more wreaths. He calls Sam fussy. It's like, aren't you a fussy one? Like, you can only have this meadow sweet wreath. They talk about it and they find out that it's made by this local woman, Madge Carrigan, and she gives them away for free in order for this guy to sell. And I love that this guy's just making like a profit off this woman's hard work. It is very much the spirit of Christmas. It's paying too much money for a bit of tree that's going to die on your front door. I say, as a person who has a Christmas wreath on my door right now.
Well, so my sister-in-law, like, when they came over for Thanksgiving, I had my Christmas tree up and everything already. And we're talking about our Christmas plans, like what we're going to do. And so I think what we're going to do is do Christmas at my house in the morning. And my sister was like, when your parents come, we can go get a tree. I was like, I already have a tree. I pointed up so I've got like this little... I think it's like 3-foot tree, just like a fake tree. She's like, that's not a tree. I'm like, how's that not a tree?
It's a tree. I know. I have the same. I have a smaller tree.
So the same with my wreath is fake. Like, I don't want to spend money on something that I can throw out like straight away afterwards. I'm like, I don't care. Like, At least this way, I pay for it once and then that's it.
That's true. We still have our Christmas wreath from last year. It's pretty brown now, but it's going in the compost, so it's fine. We do have a new one for this year. But I mean, yeah, my Christmas ornaments are very much small tree lights, Star Trek ornaments.
And I know I've gotten you a couple.
You have got me a couple. Annabelle is feeding my habit of Star Trek Christmas ornaments. The Hallmark Star Trek ornaments, they don't sell them in this country, so I have to get them from America. But luckily, Star Trek conventions, there is always a stall that sells them. And my absolute, like, the one that I want the most is the scene from The Wrath of Khan where Spock dies. Because I want that as a Christmas ornament. Because it's so stupid. Why would you want that as a Christmas ornament? So I need to own it.
So they are coming back from the shop, going into the motel, and you know that they're asking about how much this wreath would cost.
Yeah.
And it's very expensive, $200.
Why?
And
sorry.
I mean, I guess because this plant maybe only grows in a certain type of way in a certain type of year, that's the reason why it's so expensive. Dean's like, well, this woman's giving away for free. That seems a bit suspicious. Mm-hmm. Dean remembers a wreath that John had gotten them.
Remember that wreath Dad brought home that one year?
You mean the one he stole from like a liquor store?
Yeah, it was a bunch of empty beer cans. That thing was great. Yeah, I bet if I looked around hard enough, I could probably find one just like it.
John really doesn't set good examples. He's stealing Christmas decorations from places.
From a liquor store? Why was he in the liquor store in the first place? This is it. Because Dean does this occasionally, and he did it in Bad Day at Black Rock also, is that he'll tell this real cute story about his childhood, and we're all looking on horrified. Like, that's not a normal childhood story, Dean. That's not cute. Nope. That's not cute.
Nope. Not at all.
The thing is like, Dean's like, oh, it was really nice of Dad to bring this back for us. But you know, this is what happened, that John was like in the liquor store, oh crap, it's Christmas and the kids are back at the motel, and just like grabbed it on his way out.
Dean stole it.
Of course he freaking did. Of course he freaking did.
Of course he fudging
did. No, you're right, because everything that they did for Christmas was Dean. John didn't do anything. It was all Dean.
It was Dean who stole the...
Right.
Ugh.
This is why... Okay, I'm going for it. This is why when they're having this conversation, Dean's asking Sam, like, why are you so against Christmas? Like, were your childhood memories that traumatic? And this is upsetting Dean while they're talking about it, because Dean created those memories for Sam. And now to hear him say, oh yeah, all my Christmases were bad. Like, I had such a bad childhood, like growing up, we never did anything good. Dean's thinking, well, I tried my hardest. Mm-hmm.
Such a sad thought. Oh my God.
I'm so sorry, it's Christmas. That's it. That's the whole vibe I get through this episode, is like Dean trying to rekindle that relationship with Sam, because as a kid, he probably thought he was doing a good job getting things for Sam for Christmas. And now to hear him as an adult say that it wasn't good enough is really tough.
But at the same time, your theory of him only remembering up to that point in the flashback makes sense at this point, because he might not remember what Dean has done for him.
Exactly.
Yet.
Yes, and I think that is what changes it later on. Yeah. Sam kind of asks Dean why he wants to celebrate Christmas this year.
What's going on with you?
What?
I mean, since when are you Bing Crosby all of a sudden? Why do you want to do Christmas so bad?
Why are you so against it? I mean, were your childhood memories that traumatic?
No, that has nothing to do with it.
Then what?
I mean, I don't get it. You haven't talked about Christmas in years.
Well, yeah. This is my last year.
Because he apparently hasn't talked about it in years. You know, probably as they're adults, Dean stopped doing this stuff for Sam. Probably thought he had his own stuff going on with college and things. Dean says, like, this is my last year. And I just the way he says it is so matter of fact. Like, he's like, you know, it is. It's not sad. He's not saying it. He's not sad about it. He's just saying it. This is the reality of the situation. Sam says that's why he can't do Christmas, and I do get that, actually, that he can't enjoy it because he knows it's Dean's last Christmas. That's completely I can understand that. It makes it extremely difficult to get through almost. And
yeah, I mean, this episode is very much, I feel like, in Sam's perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't just sit around drinking eggnog, pretending everything's okay, when I know next Christmas you'll be dead.
Like, knowing that the person that they love is not going to be there for the next Christmas, it would make it more difficult to celebrate Christmas.
Yeah, it puts a lot of pressure on, I think. And I can completely understand why Sam wouldn't want to do it, actually. Especially when all his Christmases have been bad. I think that's part of it. I think he doesn't think they can have a good Christmas.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, I don't let Dean remember his childhood Christmases that he thinks were so great. And so he doesn't see the reality of what it was like if we try and recreate it here, because it'll be bad.
Yeah, like they can't do like the big Christmas meal because they don't have a kitchen. Mm-hmm. Because they're not anywhere permanent. They don't, and it's, by the sounds of it, it sounds like they're 2 or 3 days outside of Christmas.
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
They're not going to be able to get tree decorations, all this, that, and the other. They're not going to get like a bunch of presents. So it seems like a potential wasted effort.
Yeah, I think so.
And you can't, they're going into these amazing houses with this professionally dressed houses for Christmas. And I feel like Sam wants to give him that.
Yeah.
And he knows he can't.
Yeah, it's exactly that. So yeah, he doesn't want to even try because he knows he can't live up to Dean's expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
but not realizing that Dean's expectations is not that high. He just wants to do Christmas.
Yeah. Look, Dean's perfect Christmas is just spending it with Sam.
It is.
I told you I'm not going to get through this episode without crying. Okay.
And lucky for us, we have another flashback moment.
That's true. So true.
Sam is on the sofa reading a comic book and Dean walks in. In my mind, this is after he stormed out.
Yeah.
It's probably like 30, 40 minutes later, maybe even a little bit longer. He's calmed himself down and decided that like he needs to go shopping, so let me just go do that. Sam basically confronts it, says, I thought you went out, and he says, yeah, to go get you dinner. And says, don't forget your vegetables, and there's like a bag of like onion rings.
Oh, the malnutrition.
And I do wonder if this is like the point in like these moments are like why Sam is so health conscious, because Dean was trying to give him vegetables. I say vegetables in quotation marks.
I know.
As he grew up, he was like, oh, actually, yeah, we do actually need vegetables. I do
think that.
As Dean's sort of settling in, Sam says, I know why you keep a gun under your pillow. And we see the revolver under the pillow, which is absolutely insane that a 12-year-old has a gun under his pillow.
I know.
But there you go. They have this little back and forth, and eventually it was revealed that Sam has been reading through John's journal.
Yeah, of course he has.
I think it's interesting that Dean says that John was going to kick his ass for reading the journal.
Yeah.
And I don't think I think that's what's, how you have reactions planned in your head for somebody. Mm-hmm. But in reality, I think John would have been somewhat proud.
It's really hard to say, I think, because the thing is, I don't think John would have this conversation with Sam, right? Maybe he would have told him when he was older. But they seem to be, at this point, sheltering Sam in a way that they didn't with Dean. Maybe John regrets a little bit that Dean's had to grow up like this, knowing that monsters exist in some way, in some John fudged up way. I think John would have been mad at Dean.
Yeah.
How could you let your brother read this? Right? You're supposed to be watching him.
Yeah.
Right, that's why Dean's like, oh, he's going to kick your ass. No. He's going to shout at Dean.
He's going to kick your ass.
He's going to kick your ass. Like, that's it. Dean has ultimate responsibility for Sam's actions. We've kind of seen that before, in something wicked. Like, you're supposed to be protecting your brother. Like, how dare you, like, in any way let your guard down? Really tough. Mm-hmm. I say jingling. Just adding some light jingling to this moment.
But yeah, you're right. You're right. Fudging John Winchester.
Fudge that man.
So, this is the moment when it's revealed that Sam knows about monsters. Mm-hmm. And Dean tries to shake it off, essentially, say, no, you're crazy. Dean's like, okay, I'll tell you if you swear you don't tell Dad about any of it.
Yeah.
I do wonder, so Sam responds with promise. Do you think he's able to keep his promises? Because at this point in flashbacks, Sam has been able to.
Yeah.
It's Dean who hasn't been able to, and that by no fault of his own.
Yeah, I think Sam is just mirroring Dean here. They promise each other a lot of stuff as children.
And then the hero worship begins from Dean. Quite literally. Quite literally.
First thing you have to know is we have the coolest dad in the world. He's a superhero.
He is?
Yeah. Monsters are real. Dad fights them. He's fighting them right now.
But Dad said the monsters under my bed weren't real.
It's because he'd already checked under there.
The thing is do you think that Dean has to hero worship John? Otherwise, their situation would be too bleak to him, right? It has to be like, our dad is a hero, he's saving people, and we're helping him do that by, like, sitting in this motel room and looking after ourselves. And that's why the reality of monsters is too horrible. So there has to be someone to protect them, and that person is John to Dean. So he has to give that to Sam also and be like, we have a superhero for a dad. He's going to protect us. We're going to be fine. And I mean, he says that here. But I think Dean says it so much as a child that their dad's going to protect them that he believes it as an adult until John dies.
Actually, I think it was even before that. A little bit before that. But yeah. Eventually, if you keep telling yourself something, especially if you're like, how long do you think Dean has been calling John a superhero?
Yeah.
Probably for as long as he's known about superheroes.
In his mind, I can still see that he was still calling him that, you know, when he went to go collect Sam from Stanford. I think you're right. I think it did kind of wash off eventually, you know. He did eventually see the reality of John. Because
I think the confrontation between Sam and John, how he actually treats them was the bit like, oh, no, he's not.
Yeah. And also when you see yourself reflected, like, I mean, it's weird, right? It's like when you become an adult and you start to look around at other adults and you're like, oh, actually, none of us know what we're doing. Right? I feel like Dean definitely had that moment with John where he was like, oh, well, if I don't know what I'm doing, John's never known what he was doing. This is absolutely terrifying. But yeah, I mean, here he's giving Sam something because he's just found out something awful.
Yeah, that monsters exist. And then Sam asks if Santa is real. And there's no hesitation from Dean, and he says no.
Yeah.
And it comes back to this idea that they're only bad things that could be real. And Santa, even though there is a ton of lore, technically, there's no possible way that something good like Santa could exist. Yeah,
there can't be Santa because good supernatural things don't exist in Dean's universe. For him. That's... Oh, no. Amy, why? Okay. Do you think that Dean researched Santa?
Yes.
Like when he was little? Do you think John set him straight?
Yeah. I think he told him he was being ridiculous.
Yeah, I think so too. In a world where vampires and werewolves exist, Dean, you really believe that Santa can exist? I can hear John saying it in my head.
Yeah.
Fudging John Winchester.
He's not even he's not in this show, and he gets me.
He's in this episode though. The spectre of him is in this episode because also Dean is wearing the jacket in this episode on and off. Yep. He puts it on and off, and it's just like, oh yeah, John's here. He's with us.
If monsters are real, then they could get us. They could get me.
Dad's not gonna let him get you.
But what if they get him?
They aren't gonna get Dad. Dad's like the best.
I read in Dad's book that they got Mom.
It's complicated, Sam.
If they got Mom, they can get Dad. And if they get Dad, they can get us.
It's not like that. Okay, Dad's fine. We're fine. Trust me.
this line where he says, Dad's not gonna let them get you.
Yeah.
You could change out Dad and say Dean. I'm not gonna let them get you.
And Dean is a dad in this episode. Even as a 12-year-old, he is being a dad.
This is another reason why I fudging hate John Winchester. Because this conversation should not be happening between a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. This should be an adult talking with their child. Even this first conversation from the flashback with talking about what John does for a job. Yeah. That's not a conversation that should be happening in this way. But this one especially, because Sam is getting visibly upset about this and he's scared.
He finds out from reading in John's journal that a demon killed their mother. Right? He says it here, like, I read in Dad's book, they got Mom. And it's like, what a way to find out. Dean does say here, like, he says, we're okay, like, Dad's fine, trust me. Like, that's, of course you got to trust Dean. And he promises that John's going to be back for Christmas, which is... And like, the thing is, watching it, you're like, no, he's not. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, even if I'd never seen this episode before, I would have been like, oh, John's not coming back for Christmas. This is super sad. Okay. So yeah, Dean puts Sam to bed. He's crying. He says to him, like, it'll all be better when you wake up, I promise. So he's already formulating a little plan in his little Dean mind.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this episode. I hate this episode.
I know, it's like too many emotions. So we see Sam and Dean and they're walking out to another very much Christmas picturesque house.
Yeah.
We see, like, I'm not sure exactly what the sign says, but it says something about the Carrigans.
So this is where Mrs. Wreath lives, huh? Why can't you just feel the evil pagan vibe?
Which I think is kind of interesting that they've equated paganism to evil. Yes, in this particular instance, it's not particularly great kidnapping people or pulling them up a chimney.
I know some very non-evil pagans, you know.
Right.
I don't feel like you'd get away with this with any other religion. Just saying. Just saying. I know the pagan thing is quite easy to, like, because people assume there aren't pagans around anymore, but there definitely are.
So they open the door and Madge answers the door and Dean, again, they're leaning into this couple bit.
Yeah.
He's like, please tell me you're the Madge Carrigan who makes the meadowsweet wreaths. The way that she acts and talks reminds me of like 1930s, 1940s, 50s kind of attitude about things.
It's very I Love Lucy, right?
Yeah.
Like when her husband appears behind her in a pipe and cardigan.
Yes.
It's so... I quite enjoy the 1950s aesthetic. I would enjoy it more without like misogyny, but like I quite enjoy the like aprons and the dresses and the pipes and things. I do like the look, the mid-century look of it all. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Sam says, I've been admiring your wreaths at this other place, and he's just asking if you have any more, if we could buy them. And she says, oh, fudge.
Oh, fudge.
Which I think is really funny now, like, as you go forward as to why that, anyway. Yeah. She doesn't have any more. They're all sort of done for the season because the meadowsweet is all out. Mr. Carrigan comes down the stairs with his pipe and cardigan. Before we started recording, we got so distracted by this actor. His name's Spencer Garrett. Yeah. I recognize him from something. I have no idea what it is, and I know I'll probably go back and watch. I think he's just one of those TV actors who are sort of everywhere.
I had this conversation. We had this conversation at the beginning. I think he looks like Chris Parnell. And he's very much typecast. Like Chris Parnell could play this part, and it would be exactly the same.
The only difference is that at that time, Chris Parnell would have been too young.
Oh, yeah, he probably would have been. How old is Chris Parnell? No, I feel like he wouldn't have been too young. He must be in his like late 40s now. Oh, yeah, maybe he would have been too young. I'm like, how long ago was 2007? Oh, longer than you think.
Yes. It was over 13 years ago.
Yeah. Wow, okay, fine.
He's got the very 1950s voice. It's like, yes, dear. Hello, dear. Hi, honey. Like, it's very... I cannot explain it. You just have to kind of watch it and you know it.
Yeah, you do.
He offers them some peanut brittle, which he just kind of imagines out of thin air because he doesn't grab it from anywhere. He's just, here it is. And like the fact that Dean goes for it. And Sam is not subtle whatsoever. No, it's full on grabs his arm and is like, no, we're okay.
Don't touch it, Dean. Don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
You think they're evil pagan gods? Why are you trying to take their peanut brittle? Like, come on, man. Come on. This is how you get cursed.
At this point, I don't think that he thinks they're the gods. I think they're just worshippers or like evil worshippers.
Yeah, but you don't know what's in that peanut brittle.
Yeah,
you don't know what's in that peanut brittle.
It could be something that's going to make your belly upset.
Exactly. It's a tummy no-no.
It's a tummy no-no. I mean, why anybody would want peanut brittle in the first place is anyone's guess.
Oh, no, I love peanut brittle. I'm here for it. I love peanut brittle. How can you not like peanut brittle? How can you not like it?
I don't like peanuts and I don't like peanut butter.
You smash it with a tiny hammer. The tiny hammer, Annabelle.
I might enjoy the process, but I won't like the taste.
I love peanut brittle. I love sugared almonds. I love Christmas food. If I could eat Christmas food, to be fair, I do eat Christmas food all year round. I'm saying, like, if I could, I do.
You have, like, roasts every Sunday.
I have a roast every Sunday. I love Yule logs. I love the candied nuts. Gingerbread. Oh, yeah, gingerbread. What? Okay, you haven't tried my gingerbread though, so you don't know. You don't know. I make good Lebkuchen too. If you haven't eaten Lebkuchen, ooh.
Well, I mean, again, so neither of my parents are British. Mm-hmm. We never did Christmas the same. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have like one year we would do salmon, one other year we would do something else, and we would never do like a roast dinner. It's, to me, I'm just like, whatever. I also saw this post recently. I think it's very British problems on Instagram. Yeah, I love that thing.
Me too. Yeah,
it's like you can't mention having a roast dinner without then going ahead and making one, and that's very true. Because right now I want to go like find everything to make a Christmas dinner, or not a roast dinner at least.
Do Yorkshire puddings exist in America?
You can find yes. But not in the same sense, in that you can go to the British section of like the
British section
supermarket and you can find like a ready mix thing.
Yeah.
But it's never out of stock because nobody knows what it is.
You can't just buy them ready made. They just like stick in the oven. No. Whoa. I couldn't live in America. That's it. That's my hard line. I can't live without Yorkshire puddings. You haven't lived until you've eaten a Yorkshire pudding that's the size of your dinner plate with some like sausage and mash in.
Doing toad in the hole?
Toad in the hole. Why is no one eating it? So I went to York a few years ago, and they're dish they're famous for is a Yorkshire wrap. And it's like a folded up Yorkshire pudding with like meat and vegetables in.
That sounds
with
delicious.
Gravy inside as well.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
Oh my God.
We went to this shop that sells them and there was like a queue around the corner to get these. And I'm like, yeah, I understand.
Yeah. No, I would understand that too. Oh my goodness. Ugh.
I'll make you a roast dinner when you come visit me. We'll make you a roast dinner, definitely, for sure.
Anyway, so we're inside the motel, and Dean is sharpening a wooden stake, and those carvings are going everywhere but the bin.
Absolutely my favourite. It's my favourite. Why has he even got a bin? There's no reason.
Why has he even got a bin?
He's literally just flicking it everywhere. Do you think they set up the scene and were like, okay, Jensen, can you just sharpen this stake into this bin that we placed here? Like, so we don't make too much of a mess. And like he tried it, was like, nah, this isn't working, this is going to go everywhere.
Because the thing is, he's not even trying, because he's like well above the bin.
Yeah.
You need to be in, like...
You need to sharpen it into the bin. Yeah. This is clearly a man who's never peeled vegetables. I'm just saying.
Yes. Absolutely. It wouldn't have made sense for him. You have to see it, essentially. You have to see the steak.
Yeah.
So that's why it had to be outside, but it's just funny that this is flicks of wood just going everywhere. Is
there a reason as well, just go with this, why these steaks have to be so massive? Just because they're huge. They're like arm-sized. Like the thickness of them is an arm's thickness. Why are they so big?
I don't know.
Also, where did they get the wood?
To be honest, like, is it supposed to be a certain type of wood?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like an evergreen. So it'll be pine. It's going to be pine.
Okay.
They bought some pine fence posts is what's happened here. And
I
they're
think
like, let's
so.
sharpen these.
Because it's a very peculiar shape too, because it's square. It's a square piece of wood that he's then whittled down.
Like, okay, right, I'm just going with this. So I'm sorry, I'm stuck on this. But why does it need to be to a point? Surely, you could just buy a wooden, like a plank of wood, right, of 2x4, and just put it into a triangle at the end to make it pointy. You don't need to like fully carve it into a steak, unless it.
Maybe
it's part of the ritual. Maybe it needs to be round.
Maybe, I don't know. Is it easier to stab someone with a point?
Maybe,
but I mean, the thing is though, the god is going to be in a fleshy exterior.
Yeah,
it's not like a vampire. Like, no, I don't get it.
The other thing is, okay, right. So these steaks they're making are like short and fat, right? Mm-hmm. Would you not make one like a spear, like long, like away from you, so you could like stab the spear in them? You know what I'm trying? I'm doing the action. No one can see me.
What you're saying is like, why didn't they make a javelin?
Yeah, make a javelin. Basically, it's stupid. I love it so much. I've seen the gif of this, of him just sat there sharpening this steak, and it is the most perfect thing because it's going everywhere. I wonder how many takes they did, and I wonder if they had to clear up pieces of wood halfway through. Because
what is he? It looks like he's using like some sort of penknife, right? He's not even got like anything. I can't remember the knife because I was too looking at the pieces of wood being flicked everywhere. I want it to be a huge knife. I want it to be like his machete that he's trying to sharpen this with, because that would be funny to me. Oh, but it's not. It's like some little.
It's some small crappy knife. Oh my god, I love it so much.
Anyway,
they basically just confirm here that these people are involved because they said like, oh yeah, there were 2 abductions in Seattle last year. Sam noticed that they had like Christmas crap in their house that wasn't holly, it was vervain and mint, which is, as Dean said, pagan stuff.
Serious pagan stuff.
Keeping a pagan god hidden under their plastic covered couch. And like, it's true. Basically, Bobby said the evergreen stakes are going to kill these guys, kind of like the trickster god. They also staked him. I think that was with Rowan, though. I'm making that up, but I don't feel like it was an evergreen piece of wood. I think it was a different tree.
And it was coated in something, but this time it's just some wood.
Yeah, they had lamb's blood or something, right?
I don't know.
Or like, didn't Bobby go to the morgue for some blood? No, the blood of one of their victims. That was it. So they rock up to this house, the Carrigan's house, and Oh Come All Ye Faithful is playing in the background. I liked how they use these Christmas music that are in the public domain, so they didn't have to pay anything for them. He's got his like duffel bag on his back with all these stakes in. And like Sam takes 2 of them out while Dean picks a lock and then hands him one again when he's inside. And it's just like, the thing is, why even put them in a bag? I'm so stuck on these stakes. Because they've clearly parked the car there. Just walk with them up the driveway.
And also, like, this is supernatural. You're not even going to use them. Right? Like, you have... Why do you have so many? You seem over-prepared for a situation, but you don't really need them.
It's so true. Oh... I guess what they were planning is they were going to go find this pagan god living in this person's house. Were they expecting this god to just be like chilling on their plastic covered couch? Was that what was happening? I guess so. Here? Like, honestly.
I guess so. Or like that is like kept in the basement somewhere, or like...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, Dean calls it with the couch covered in plastic because he sees one and like Sam kind of touches it to like confirm that it's plastic. So weird.
What else would it be, Sam? Like, it's very clearly plastic.
It's so clearly plastic. Maybe he's like never seen one before, so just wanted to touch to see what it feels like. I do that, to be fair. I am a very touchy person. Basically, it pans around this house and it's just got covered in Christmas stuff. Full Christmas. Like garden centre Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
That will mean nothing to our American listeners. But everyone in England, you know what I mean. Garden centre Christmas.
Just think Bass Pro Shop. Think Bass Pro Shop at Christmas time. That's what a garden centre is.
Yeah. I went to one the other day and it had a full train set going, like Christmas train set.
Nice.
So good.
Nice.
Sam manages to find a locked door. He sees like all sorts of things. This door leads to the basement, so they both go down through this into the creepy basement. It's a nice juxtaposition from the really cheery Christmas house to this absolute disgusting basement that's full of like blood and gore.
This is definitely a callback to like season 1 and 2.
Yeah, for sure. It feels gross.
Like, yeah, it feels gross. You can hardly see anything because it's really, really dark. What I thought was really weird is like, it is really gross. There's like pools of blood everywhere. There's human remain, like bones and ribs and stuff. I'm like, why is it so gross? Like, clearly the people who run this house like are pretty well organized, because there are things like hung up. Like, this is what I was saying with what the sack's made of, because I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like human skin.
Oh no, gross, nasty. Like I think the coat as well, that like the Auntie Santa wears.
I think so.
I think so too, because it's bloody and disgusting. Okay, so they look around this basement and they find this sack. Sam goes towards it, right? And it like starts to move. Does the sack move?
I think so.
Did I imagine that? So I just have one question here. Do they try and save that person at any point? Because I don't think they do. Did they just leave that person to die in Auntie Santa's sack? They did.
I think they did.
Merry Christmas.
Again, they don't show like what happens after the fact, but I'll come back to this. It's very weird how they leave this situation. So maybe they have someone go save him.
That's true. Okay, we'll come back to this. We'll circle back. The person moving in the sack surprises Sam, and he kind of jumps backwards and gets caught by Madge, who's suddenly there. And she kind of... Now, I thought this was funny because I'm like, it's normally Dean who gets beaten up by the women in Supernatural, but this time it's Sam.
Yep. Dean gets knocked out instantaneously by Mr. Carrigan.
Yeah. Edward Carrigan, apparently.
Edward. Madge holds Sam up by the neck, which I think is hilarious. Again, like, clearly Sam's supposed to be off the ground.
Yeah.
But then there's this like little old lady who's like holding Sam up off the ground. Sam like lifts up his flashlight or torch. It goes over their faces and their face distorts.
Yeah.
So it's being revealed that they are in fact the pagan gods. If it's not obvious by the super strength.
Yeah. This was one thing that I actually wish they hadn't done. I wish they hadn't made them monstrous in any way, like with their faces changing. Because I think it would have actually been creepier if they just seemed like a sweet old couple the whole time.
Well, so they only do this twice, though. It's this moment and one other time. I missed this time, like them in the basement with their face change, but I caught it later on in the episode in my first watch.
Yeah.
And then I caught it again afterwards. So I feel like if you're not paying that much attention, you may just think they are normal people.
Yeah, I just feel like they could have left it like that. I don't think there was a need to put any visual effects on their face, because it was already like, they're super strong.
I guess they have to, because they need to make it obvious.
Otherwise they're straight up murdering a couple. Okay, fine.
They are waking up, and I think it's interesting that Dean wakes up second when Sam got the harder hit to the head.
Definitely, yeah.
Like, I guess Sam has a thicker skull.
I just sometimes feel like Dean wakes up, realises he's tied to a chair, and it's like, yeah, might as well go back to sleep for a bit.
Maybe. Yes. So they figure out that, the Carrigans are the gods, and then the Carrigans come into the kitchen. She doesn't want to be hated, right?
No, yeah.
Like, because she's just like, oh, I thought you lazy bones. Like, she's acting very motherly.
Yeah, I agree.
Towards them.
She is very reminiscent of Mrs. Butters in the other holiday episode, actually. And I wonder if partly Mrs. Butters was a callback to this. But I don't think it was necessarily a direct callback. But apparently you can't have a holiday episode without a sweet old lady, so... See, okay, I just want to talk about this for a second. So this is where I was saying before, like, Neil Gaiman's influence comes through, and this whole conversation that they have here, this could be a short story of his. It makes me think of American Gods particularly, because you see elder gods who once got all the worship, now their followers have gone, they're trying to survive basically on what they can get. And this is what's happening here. So they are, they're trying to integrate into society, but at the very core of their nature, they require this like sacrifice to exist. It's weird because you almost feel a little bit of sympathy for them, because it's part of their nature that they can't live without it. So like, what are they supposed to do? But at the same time, they're murdering people horrifically and eating them, I think.
Yeah, by the sounds of it, that's what's kind of happening. Madge, says that we used to take hundreds of tributes, and like now they're down to maybe 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he calls them the Hardy Boys. I think that's great, because they also know that they're hunters.
Yes.
And
I mean, they had giant wooden stakes with them. I'm not sure where else they would be.
Yeah, exactly. Dean, obviously being Dean, insults them.
Yeah.
And there's this very quick change in attitude.
You, mister, better show us a little respect.
Or what? You'll eat us?
And he's like, well, not so fast. There's rituals to follow. So I think it's kind of interesting that, because I haven't read American Gods, but I have the feeling that people have to worship them. Yes. Whereas in here, they can do, like, the gods can do the rituals themselves and survive.
So it's a similar theme in American Gods. They can almost facilitate things happening in order for them for certain situations to come about. Think of, for example, like Odin is a god of war, really. So if there's a war going on, he would in some way get some kind of kickback from that. I think that's a way of saying it. Loki, anything chaotic going on, he's going to get some kind of like energy from that also. It doesn't necessarily have to be directed at him. It's an interesting thought. These two characters could very easily be in American Gods. Like, I could see how they would fit into that story, like of someone that Shadow met. They make me think of, I can never say their names, but the 3 sisters who are living in like a flat together, and they're from like the old country, and they're just existing because they hardly have anyone left who remembers them at all. But this is kind of similar. But there are also gods in American Gods who manage to repurpose themselves. Well, for example, like Anubis, they open a funeral parlor. So they're still doing the rituals that they used to do when they were gods, but in a different way. And it's similar here. I really can see the influence. More so than Scarecrow, which often gets like cited as like, oh, this is definitely influenced by Neil Gaiman. I think this one is more so. Way, like, honestly, you could write a short story about these two, like how they came over and who brought them over and how they've managed to survive this long without people sacrificing people to them during winter.
So do you think, because obviously there are many gods in the pagan religion, do you think these two are the only two of this god?
Again, what's interesting about like American Gods and the idea of this is there are different versions of the gods depending on like who believes in them. So the Odin in America, who was brought over with people's beliefs, is very different to the Odin that's in Norway, because the people there maybe think about him in a different way. So I would imagine that there are other versions of these pagan gods. The same with the Vanir and the Scarecrow. There might be that one in that field, but if there was another pocket of people who also believed that, there would possibly be another one also. They
definitely left out a few holes in this, but it's definitely still really interesting.
It is, right? You should read American Gods, Annabelle. You would get more out of this.
The funny thing is, I think I have it on my Kindle, but I think I need to get it as an actual book because it's so dense that I just, on my phone, it's just, I can't do it with my phone.
I'll buy you a copy. I'll send you a copy.
Okay, that can be my Christmas present.
I'll buy you a Christmas present. Perfect. Okay. I love it anyway. And what they're saying here is so true to that. I mean, they're doing these rituals. You think they've been doing it for so long that it's not horrific to them anymore? Do you know what I mean? I mean, if it ever was, to be honest, because they're gods, they kind of say that, they need the reeds to kick this off. And Dean's like, oh, well, I guess you're out. Tough luck. Time to go. Bye.
Guess we'll have to cancel the sacrifice, huh?
Oh, wow.
But no, Mad has one hiding up her sleeve. So the other parts of so that was part one. I love what Mr. Carrigan says next. It's like, all righty Roo, step number 2.
I'm using that.
It's just great. And he goes over to Sam and like cuts his arm and he bleeds into this bowl. Dean is doing his usual, like, calling everybody a bitch and son of a bitch and this, that and the other. Madge is telling him, well, we used to, back in the day we were worshipped by millions, which I don't necessarily believe because millions is a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And the population was probably not that big when they first started out. Anyway. Dean's like, well, times have changed, and they kind of acknowledge that. They do acknowledge that Jesus came along and we had to go into hiding, and they kept a low profile, got jobs and a mortgage. And, you know, they play bridge with their friends and all this, that, and the other. Madge cuts Dean's arm for his blood. And he said, this next bit.
Yeah, I know.
There's a reason why.
We've been fudging doing this the whole time.
Oh, do you know what I say when I feel like swearing? Fudge.
I'll try and remember that.
Then Mr. Harrigan pulls up a pair of pliers.
No, you fudge and touch me again, I'll fudge and kill you.
Very good.
It was at that point I was like, oh, this is actually Dean's vocabulary. If this was on like a premium streaming service, this is how Dean would talk, replacing fudge.
It
obviously.
makes me think of Ghostfacers when we actually see like them uncensored, because Chuck censors them, right? And the amount of swearing they do in that episode that's like bleeped out. I wish, look, let the man swear. He goes through so much. They should have just done it. The final the final scene of Supernatural should have just been them swearing. All the times they never got to swear. It's like, fudge you, Chuck. Fudge your plan. We're fudging out of here. Fudge out. Doesn't make sense, but I love it.
And then Mr. Carrigan does the most disgusting thing, which neither of us can watch because it's so gross. He removes a nail. That's all I'm going to say. In the actual rituals before times, do you think they just like cut the nail off? Like they use, like, obviously not clippers because clippers didn't exist, but some way to just like they didn't take the nail, but they took like part of a nail clipping essentially.
Yeah, maybe a nail and a tooth though, because they do say like we also need a tooth, and I don't know if there's any way to nicely take a tooth from somebody.
And as he puts the pliers into Dean's mouth to take a tooth, the doorbell rings, so he's literally saved by the bell.
Sure you're gonna get that? You should get that.
Why did they pull his tooth out at this point and he was had to go around for the rest of the seasons with just a gap?
Yeah, no, that's probably why they did it, to be honest. So they wouldn't have to like explain how he got dental work when like...
I mean, we know that he hasn't had dental work ever. That is actually addressed at one point. Of all the things we get to see, of all the things we wanted to see, I did think it would be them going to the dentist. I love through all of this, like, and the little break they have just before he gets the pliers, like, Dean just goes and turns and sounds like Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I know.
The sarcasm. I think I said this before, but I think they use humour. You've got to, first of all, because, like, no one's coming to save them in this situation.
No, like, this is an absolutely dire situation at this point. There's nothing that they can do. They are completely stuck. That bell literally saved their lives.
Yeah, it did. That lady who turns up at the door with her fruitcake. Okay, weird question. So this lady turns up, this is because they do go to get the door, and it's a lady, a neighbour, who has a fruitcake. You know, they have a whole back and forth. There's a neighbour being neighbourly, asking if they want to go caroling, asking if they want to come for a bridge. And it's kind of showing how they have integrated themselves into this neighbourhood, to be fair. And they said they'll be there with bells on, which is very 50s, I feel. But then as they turn and close the door on this neighbour, like they kind of drop the facade a bit, drop the cake on the floor as well, the fruitcake, and step on it.
So they go back to the kitchen and Sam and Dean have escaped. And they trap them inside the kitchen. So this made me laugh so hard because they're supposed to be super strong, right?
Yeah.
And they're just leaning against the door. Like, obviously they're showing, like, resistance. But then Dean just pulls out a drawer to stop them from banging on the door like that's going to do anything.
It's a Christmas miracle.
It absolutely is. At least so after Dean does that, he runs to Sam. At least with that one, they use like an actual like display cabinet.
Yeah.
Which then kind of explains why like it goes quiet because they obviously broke through the other door.
I mean, clearly, must have done, honestly.
But so that, you know, they're looking around because they obviously haven't got their weapons anymore. They see the tree and they pull it down and grab stakes essentially. So they, you know, Dean spent all that time whittling that wood and all they needed was a tree.
For nothing. They had to clear up that hotel room for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. They start their little fight scene. Mr. Carrigan gets like tackled to the ground, tackles Dean to the ground. So this time, yeah, you're right. Sam is fighting the woman on this one.
Yeah.
It's very fast, actually, the fight between them. I guess they didn't really want to draw it out because they are fighting old people, older people.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of makes sense that they would go with the 50s aesthetic.
It's very Bing Crosby.
Yeah.
Like, it's what you think of Christmas. Like, yeah, Bing Crosby and, like, again, like, It's a Wonderful Life. All those kinds of films are very, like, Christmas.
So Sam stakes Madge in the, like, gut.
Yeah.
She falls to the ground. Dean does multiple stabs with his stake.
So hard to do as well.
Yeah. Like, pretty sure that would have, like, snapped in two, but
fine.
Whatever.
Go with it.
Merry Christmas.
I love it so much. I love it. Just the moment them looking at his dead bodies and just be like, Christmas. I mean, there's a ball on one of the stakes, so, you know, it's festive.
Yeah. Exactly.
A festive staking.
Coming back to what we were saying earlier about the guy in the sack, they've just stabbed these two obviously well-liked people in the neighborhood.
Pillars of the community.
Pillars of the community. For no apparent reason. I mean, obviously, they would have to call the police, right? To save the guy in the basement.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or something. Or did they just, like, leave them in the house like that? Like, the thing is, the window was open, so obviously it's nosy neighbors, right?
Yeah.
They would have seen something.
If it wasn't for the guy in the basement, I would say they just left. Maybe rang the police on the way out of town, right? Mm-hmm. There's a guy in the basement. I mean, maybe they went to go check on him and maybe he'd already, like, croaked it, you know? Like, maybe he was already dead. So that might explain that. Unless they just let the guy go. Let's be nice for Christmas. They go back to the basement. This guy's alive. He's fine. He's going to go back to his family for Christmas. So they just let him go, wander the street, and are like, let's leave quick. Let him deal with it.
So we come after that lovely transition from the Christmas ornament. We're now back in 1991, and it's snowing. Dean is waking up Sam, and they say, "Look, Dad was here. Look what he brought us." It's all decorated for Christmas in their little way.
It's like John is Santa. Because he's like, look, he left all this stuff and now he's gone and you missed him because he tried to wake you up. You know, Santa doesn't exist, but John does, but also doesn't.
Yeah, definitely. There's clearly, like, only presents for Sam, and, like, wouldn't you think about that?
The thing is, the thing that's making Dean happy, because he sent Sam to bed. He was all sad about monsters existing. So he's like, I'm going to give him a good Christmas and pretend that Dad is the dad that I'm saying that he is, right? Mm-hmm. Like, to make out we have a good father. So he goes and he finds presents for Sam to make him happy. Because that's all Dean needs for Christmas, is Sam to be safe and happy.
It's really sad.
I know.
So Sam is obviously very excited because he's thinking that John got them presents for Christmas. He opens the first present and it's a sapphire Barbie.
Yeah.
Not something that John would probably get them for Christmas.
No, he wouldn't.
Not only because it's traditionally a girl's toy, not to say that boys can't play with dolls, but obviously they grew up in a house where it's all manly men. So he then opens the second present and it's like a baton.
A baton. Yes.
Sam knows something's up.
Yeah.
He's like, he wasn't here, was he?
Where'd you get all this stuff?
Nice house at the block. Look, I'm sure Dad would have been here if he could.
He's alive.
Don't say that. Of course he's alive. He's Dad.
He wouldn't be there because it's Christmas.
No.
He'd be there to then take them somewhere else. Like, I don't think Christmas registers with John anymore.
No, he's too wrapped up. I don't think he even registers what time of year it is or anything passing, because he's so singularly focused on hunting the demon at this point that his time has no meaning, essentially.
Yeah, it's just on to the next thing. There's no time to breathe, essentially.
Yeah. The thing is, if Dean hadn't stolen, I guess, girls' presents, he definitely could have sold this as John left these as well. So I think he's really annoyed at, like, you can see on his face, he's like, God damn it. Like, yeah. Because again, like I said, it's like Sam finding out all over again that, like, Santa doesn't exist. His dad didn't come. He's only got Dean.
Sam retrieves the present that he was going to give to John.
Yeah.
And actually gives it to Dean. And It's really sad because Dean doesn't want to take it at first because he's like, no, it's for Dad.
Yeah.
Again, it must be because, you know, he's happy. Like, his Christmas present is giving Sam a good Christmas.
Yeah.
So he doesn't expect anything because he's never gotten anything for Christmas. Because
Exactly.
Sam's always been too young to give him anything for Christmas. And the only reason why Sam has anything at this point was because it was from Bobby and he was meant to give it to John. My next question is, could Bobby predict John enough that he gave Sam this present knowing that it would never actually get to John but actually go to Dean?
Here's my thought on this. I don't necessarily think Bobby gave this to Sam as a Christmas present. I'm not giving Bobby that credit. I'm sorry. I think because, okay, so this is the amulet that Dean wears. This is the Samulet, right? Mm-hmm. That he receives. Like, when he takes it from Sam, he's clearly, like, extremely pleased with it and wears it. And, like, we know that Dean cherishes this because we see him wear it every time we see him, pretty much. It's interesting that it originally came from Bobby. I was thinking about this because I hadn't remembered that it originally came from Bobby. I think it must have been some kind of artifact from Bobby that was supposed to go to John for a hunt, that Sam decided, oh, well, it's near Christmas. This thing I'm supposed to give him from Bobby, I'll just wrap it like a Christmas gift in order to give it to him. Like, it'll be fun that way. I don't necessarily think it was intended as a gift in that sense. And I say that because I don't think that I think if Bobby had intended it as a Christmas gift for John, he would have given the boys something too.
The only thing I was going to say on top of that, though, is nobody takes that from Dean.
No.
Nobody uses it. So either John was nice, which I don't want to believe, or did Dean stand up to John at this point and be like, well, Sam gave it to me. I'm going to keep it. And the only reason why John didn't forcibly take it from Dean was because it wasn't actually going to do the thing that he needed it to do.
I think so, because there's no way that Bobby knows what this is. I mean, we know what it is. Mm-hmm. There's no way that Bobby knows this. So it could have just been something vaguely supernatural that Bobby was handing over to him. Like, maybe it's just like lucky, maybe just like a token or something. I'm not sure. It's a weird thing to have come from Bobby, and I do think about this a lot. It honestly, it actually would have made more sense to me that, like, Sam had seen this somewhere randomly and picked it up thinking that Dean would like it. Mm-hmm. I know it's originally supposed to be for John. Maybe he could have had it that way. The fact that the Samulet comes from Bobby actually complicates it slightly, I think.
I think they want you to kind of maybe forget a little bit that it did.
Definitely. But yeah, I think if we're going with that headcanon, if Bobby had seen Dean wearing it, he would have assumed John had given it to Dean. So he wouldn't have said anything about it. And I think either Dean kept it hidden from John, but I mean, John eventually maybe would have noticed. But by that point, maybe he didn't need it anymore for the reason that Bobby had given it to him. So it's like, fine, keep it. And we see Sam, like, remember this. So like I said, I think these happen sequentially to Sam. I think he remembers these in the sequence that we're seeing him remember them, because it finally puts into context for him why Dean might feel this way about Christmas. But it's at this point that Sam's like, oh, all the things I remember about Christmas was things that Dean did for me. If he hadn't done those things, it actually would have been way worse.
Yeah, you would have got the non-Christmases that you had after this point, I'd imagine.
Yeah, exactly. And for him, I think remembering Dean's reaction when he gave him the Samulet solidifies for him how important it is to Dean. And it's not necessarily that it's Christmas that's important to Dean. It's like the bonding. You know,
the symbolism of Christmas of it all. Like the having a moment for your family is probably what's actually on Dean's mind.
Oh, I just think of baby Dean, like watching Hallmark movies and like seeing all the family sat around together at a Christmas tree, like opening presents. Like he wishes that he could have that.
Sam has gotten a Christmas tree and some Christmas decorations. I love the fact, like, I want to know where he got that tree from. It's like in a bucket. And like, the ornaments are like air fresheners shaped in Christmas tree.
I reckon he totally stole that tree from outside someone's house. Like it was like an outside decoration. Yeah, totally. Like just the visual of that, like Sam sidling up to a small tree in someone's front garden being like,
And the funny thing is, he doesn't have a car at this point, so he would have been like running with this tree.
Walk really fast, Sam. Go for it.
Dean's sort of surprised at seeing all this Christmas decoration stuff.
What's all this? What do you think it is? It's Christmas.
Dean asks, what changed your mind? He doesn't answer. I really wish that they made Sam have an answer for this.
Yeah.
I think is left up to the viewer to interpret, like going through the flashbacks as realization of why they should have Christmas.
Yeah.
So instead, he like gives him the eggnog and was like, if it needs more kick, I've got more whiskey. Eggnog again is disgusting.
Yep.
Even if you put whiskey in it, it's not going to taste good. It's going to taste worse, in fact.
The acting during this whole scene is just so soft. Like, I love it so much. Dean's face through all of this is just like childlike wonderment at their crappy Christmas tree and this like overspiked eggnog. And
But it's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah. And Sam just looks relieved that he can do this for him and make Dean this happy. And it's A+. My favourite scene, I think, so far in the whole Supernatural is this scene. It's so soft and so nice. And I love it so much.
Is moments like this when you realise how much as close as they are as brothers, you realise that they're not as close as they could be.
Yeah.
Like, they're still getting to know one another after Sam was gone for 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Sam kind of knows what makes Dean happy, but he knows what makes Dean happy superficially. So, like, he knows he likes booze. He knows he likes women. He knows he likes this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But, like, this stuff truly makes Dean happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Dean wants family and stability. That is what he wants. That ultimately would make him content with his life. Right, is having his family and having some kind of stability. And what Sam provides here is that. And it's not about chicks and booze and all that kind of stuff. It's that's not who Dean is, actually.
No.
It isn't.
Yeah, have a seat. Let's do Christmas stuff or whatever.
And he hands Sam like 2 packaged gifts. Sam's like, well, where'd you get these? Sam's like, oh, I guess we think alike, because he takes out 2 packages as well. Sweetly wrapped in newspaper.
I know. It's so nice.
So he absolutely remembered that this is what he did for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he hands him the gift and Sam opens his first one and he gets 2 magazines.
Adult magazines.
And some shaving cream.
The thing is, he's like, so he seems genuinely happy with his gifts. Like, there is like a wow, thanks, you know, that you can do when you get a gift. But Sam actually is like laughing, like he's actually amused and really enjoys these. I
do wonder if it's like a bit of an inside joke type thing. Again, what makes me laugh about this scene, I think a little bit of Jared is peeking through here.
I think so, yeah.
And there's a little bit of Jensen that comes out in his too.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like they didn't know. Like, in the script, it says that they get gifts, but they didn't know what the gifts were going to be, and their reactions are somewhat genuine. It's probably not the case.
Yeah, because their reactions seem genuine. They actually do.
Yeah.
Good acting, guys. Well done. You seem like you're genuinely surprised by your weird gifts.
Yeah. And then Dean opens his gifts, and it's like a bottle of oil and like a candy bar.
Look at this. Fuel for me and fuel for my baby.
I'm just like, oh, my heart. My heart.
Again, like, okay, so whenever Dean receives a gift, any kind of gift, he looks surprised. So when Sam handed in the flashback, he genuinely looks like, oh my gosh, for me? And even here, where he's receiving oil and a candy bar, he's like, for me? Like, you bought this for me. Like, just that simple act of kindness means so much to Dean. It's people should be more nicer to him more often. We deserved, I click my screen. We deserved Cass to be in that Christmas episode in season 15 and for them to exchange gifts, because I genuinely wanted to see what they would buy each other, because I know it would be stupid and I really wanted to see it.
But no, it just has to be Sam and Dean's Christmas, because that's the only family that they have. Yeah, right. Yeah, fudging right.
Yeah, fudging right. I mean, Jack was there. Where was Cass? Like, Sam looks at Dean as he's like holding his presents, and it's like he's going to say something. As Dean thanks him, he's like, good, you know. And it's like he's going to say something.
Merry Christmas, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Here, Merry Christmas.
And decide to kind of watch the game on television. So they turn on the TV and drink this horrific eggnog. And they kind of sit silently together, like, even as the camera kind of pans out, you kind of see them watching it, and they're not really talking to each other to start with, and then they kind of do a little bit. It's almost like hesitant, like they don't know how to just sit in each other's company without thinking about monsters or thinking about death or, you know, you're right, they're still getting to know each other.
I wonder if, like, Sam's question of being a dean, like, I feel like he would have been like, is this okay? Is this what you wanted? Like, is this right?
Is this enough?
Is this enough? Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it felt like he wanted to say something about their, like, previous Christmases in some way. You know, like, I felt I owed you. You know, I owed you this because of what you did for me before. I think Sam's right to not say anything because it would almost spoil the moment. For Dean, he doesn't know all the flashbacks that Sam has had during the game, right? So for him, it would seem like he's been asking to do Christmas and Sam's decided to do this for him just to be nice, right? It is his last Christmas, as far as I know. And, you know, Sam's done it just to be nice. Whereas actually, Sam is kind of doing it because he feels like he owes Dean this. If it made it transactional in some way, I think it would have ruined it. And I think Sam realises that. I do like the closing shot of, like, the snow and the Christmas lights on the Impala. I love that they included her in their little Christmas. But I love it. That last scene is everything to me. Like, this is what this is like the essence of Supernatural. These, like, soft moments between hunts where they, like, you know, finally get to just be a family together and, like, have a moment together. We don't see it very often, and when we do, we're like, oh, okay, this is what they're actually fighting for. It's a good reminder of, like, why they're actually doing the things they do. These are the moments that they're trying to get. And they have to go through so much stuff to get these, like, small moments. And when they finally do get them, it's so nice.
We definitely needed those quiet moments in this show, but
yeah,
it's all about the big bad.
It is all about the big bad. And they are too few and far between. But in some ways, and I'm going to give some credit, I guess, to the writers, having them few and far between do highlight how rare they are, I guess, for them, which is probably true to the characters. Because, I mean, I wonder how many times after this they celebrated Christmas. Until the bunker, probably they didn't.
No, I wouldn't imagine
too much going on. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure this is like in a way, this is enough of a Christmas for them because they haven't had any good Christmases. This one is theirs. Yeah. You know, there's no expectation of John. There's no expectation of anybody. They are celebrating Christmas for themselves.
Absolutely.
That's good enough. And that's enough of a memory that they don't need to, in a way.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think they would hold on. I think they would still reference this years later.
Yeah.
You know, I love it. This episode's so nice. Despite the fingernail pulling and the gore, it's a really soft episode of Supernatural.
It really is. I do wonder a little bit, had Sam not done Christmas, would Dean have given him those presents anyway?
Yeah, because he came back with them, right? So he wasn't expecting Sam to do Christmas, but still had gone out and bought him presents. Even if it would have been just like a joke, like, ha, after all that, I thought you deserved a gift. Yeah. Like, because they are kind of pranky presents too as well, right? So he could have played it off like, I'm just being funny. But because it was so sweet, it came off as like genuinely like, yes, I bought you porn.
Such an awkward present to give your brother.
I'm so glad we got to this episode. I know this is airing after Christmas. For us, it is Christmas. Jingle, jingle, jingle. I didn't jingle enough in this episode. But yeah, I know we're hearing this after. I hope you get some Christmas spirit back through crying with us over this.
Over the trauma of this episode.
Yeah. Okay, Annabelle, what's the next episode?
So the next episode is a name that I'm probably mispronouncing, but it's Malleus Maleficarum.
Witches?
God knows.
I feel like witches. Must be witches.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't know, though.
But Ruby's back, apparently. So, yeah, I mean, we have gotten halfway through the number of episodes of this season.
Awesome.
You know, this is episode 8. And technically, it was the mid-season finale.
Yeah, I'm not surprised it was on this point. At this point, yeah. It's a nice way to have a end to half a season. So I guess what's left for us to say is we hope you enjoyed your holidays. I know this is January now, but stay warm.
Definitely, it's getting colder everywhere else.
Of course. We, of course, would like to thank and wish very happy holidays to our friend the Pixel Agora who designed our logo art. Maybe you gifted some for people at Christmas. If you did, share it with us because we'd love to know. And if you would like to contact us and talk to us about this episode or any episode, we are on all the social media that exists. We are most active on Tumblr and probably Twitter as well. So if you would like to contact us, those are the best places to do so. We are Escaping Purgatory Podcast or Escaping Podcast on those. See the links in the description.
So this week we stopped on our journey to celebrate a little bit of Christmas spirit. Next week we'll continue on our journey.
Thanks. Bye. Jingle jingle.
I love it.